Your phone was fully charged this morning. Now it's noon, and you're at 30%. Why does this keep happening? And how do we fix it? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at today. But before that, how do phone batteries even work? Well, most smartphones today use lithium-ion batteries. They're light, rechargeable, and relatively powerful for their size. Inside there are two main parts, the anode and the cathode. When you charge, lithium ions move from the cathode to the anode and get stored there. Then, when you use your phone, those ions flow back, and in the process, electrons move through the circuit, which creates a flow of electricity to power your screen, apps, and everything else. This sort of back and forth process is what we call a charge cycle. But as great as they are, they're not perfect. Each time you charge your phone, the battery slowly degrades. After about 500 charge cycles, which is roughly 1 to 2 years for most people, your battery starts holding less and less power, which isn't a bug, it's just chemistry, and it also helps companies sell more phones. Modern phones are also very smart when plugged in. They stop charging at 100% and regulate power, using something called trickle charging. If it kept putting energy into the battery, then it would damage the battery. So that's how they work. But what's using up your battery on a daily basis? Well, we're going to be going through 5 things now that are most likely taking up more of your battery than you realize. The first being the screen. Especially on modern phones and OLED high refresh rate displays, your screen is probably the #1 battery killer. It uses up a lot of energy. And this makes sense, as it's definitely the most active component. There's the brightness that consumes more power the more you turn it up. Modern phones also have pretty high refresh rates, like 60 Hz, 120 Hz, and even 240 Hz. And the more it refreshes, the more energy it's used. The next is background apps. Some background apps can use a lot of energy, especially social media platforms, message platforms, or even stuff like weather apps that can constantly refresh in the background. These apps are pretty important to this issue, because if you leave too many of them on in the background, it can drain your phone very fast. Another one is location services. GPS technology is very power hungry. You've probably seen this before if you used your phone as a GPS at any point. If multiple apps are all using it at once, your battery can take quite a hit. Another one could be poor signal. If your phone is constantly searching to get a better connection, it uses more power to stay connected, which means less power for you to do your thing on your phone. Finally, heat. Phones that overheat even slightly can damage the battery over time and make it drain faster. Although compared to the other ones, this is significantly less of an issue, as most modern phones nowadays don't really overheat. Even though they do generate a small amount of it, it's not enough to completely overheat the device. So that's cool and all, but then how can you fix these issues? But first, you're watching Future Frame. I do weekly tech breakdowns of hidden technology or tech used in your everyday life. Subscribe to see more. One way is to lower screen brightness or to use dark mode. This is great for reducing the amount of power that your screen uses. Just make sure not to turn it down too dark or it can strain your eyes, which isn't great. Another one is to turn off background app refresh for apps that you don't need. If you didn't know, background app refresh is a feature on smartphones, both for iOS and Android, that allows apps to update their content even when you're not really using them. So for example, let's say you're using weather app in the morning, you close it, and then it'll keep checking weather even if you're not opening the app for the rest of the day. This also goes for social media apps or messaging apps. And this can fix the app running in the background issue. Another great one could be to disable location tracking for apps that don't need it. This is similar to the last one, but if you have an app that's using your location when you don't need it to be using it, then you can just turn off the location for that app or just close the window. Another one is to turn on low power mode. This is probably the most obvious one on this list, and it makes sense as to why that is. When you turn on low power mode, your phone does a lot of stuff automatically that makes it so it uses less power. This varies from phone to phone, but usually it's stuff like turning down the screen brightness or limiting certain access to features. And the last one is you might want to consider battery replacement. It's cheaper than getting a new phone, and if the main problem with your phone is your battery running out constantly, then it's much cheaper and often makes a huge difference. And that's why your phone battery keeps dying, mostly just because of features already within the phone. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and he told me what if one day in the future phone batteries could last for months. I kind of dismissed that idea, thinking it was kind of ridiculous, but imagine a world where phone batteries could last for weeks. That would be really cool, even if it probably won't really happen. What battery percentage do you usually charge your phone at? Let me know in the comments. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far, be sure to subscribe, as it really helps me out. Also, should I make my videos longer? I've gotten some feedback that maybe I should make them longer and upload them more sporadically. But what do you think? Let me know. Anyways, that's all for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.